What if the beauty industry was never about beauty? What if it was about control? Because for decades, women have been expected to spend time, money, energy just to be seen as acceptable. And now, men are being invited in, not to escape that system, but to join it. For most of modern history, beauty has been positioned as a woman's responsibility, a routine, an obligation, a cost. And men were allowed to exist outside of it. Or at least, that's the story we've been told. Because now, suddenly, men are being welcomed into the beauty industry. They're buying skincare, they're getting Botox, they're building routines, and the industry is paying attention. But here's the question I want to sit with today. Is this actually progress? Or is this just a new audience to sell insecurity to? Let's start with what's happening right now. The male beauty industry is growing fast. In 2026, the global men's grooming market is estimated around $67 billion, with steady growth projected over the next decade. But that number doesn't even fully capture what's going on. Because depending on how you define it, skincare, wellness, cosmetic procedures, the broader male beauty space is already pushing well past 100 billion globally, and more importantly, it's growing faster than women's. According to industry analysis from Barclays, men's beauty spending has recently grown at nearly double the rate of women's in some categories. That's not just growth, that's expansion. And the driving force behind it? Gen Z men. A majority of younger men are now using skincare regularly, building routines that would have been unthinkable even a decade ago. Which means something fundamental is changing, not just in the market, but in how masculinity itself is being defined. Because here's the part that often gets left out of this conversation: beauty was not always feminine. In fact, for much of history, beauty was about power. In ancient Egypt, men wore kohl eyeliner, not just for aesthetics, but for protection, status, even spirituality. In ancient Greece and Rome, elite men engaged in elaborate grooming rituals: oils, perfumes, hairstyling, all markers of wealth and refinement. Even in early modern Europe, aristocratic men wore powdered wigs and cosmetics as markers of class. Historian Dr. Faye Bond Alberti notes that appearance has long been tied to authority, status, and self control, not gender. Beauty was an extra, it was a signal of status, of control, of belonging. So, what changed? The answer lies in the rise of modern masculinity. As industrialization took hold, a new ideal of manhood emerged. Men became associated with productivity, labor, rationality, and anything linked to appearance, decoration, or self adornment became coded as feminine. Beauty didn't disappear, it was reassigned. Women became the primary consumers of beauty, and importantly, the ones expected to invest in it. Men were given a stripped down version. Beauty didn't just become gendered, it became a way to regulate behavior, to quietly control who was expected to invest in appearance and who wasn't. Not beauty, grooming, functional, minimal, necessary, shaving, soap, deodorant. Even now, you can still see this distinction everywhere. Beauty is framed as transformation, grooming is framed as maintenance, and only one of those has historically been mandatory. For decades, men's entry into this world was carefully controlled, and it all hinged on one thing: shaving. Shaving was positioned as acceptable, even essential, a manly ritual, which allowed brands to introduce products, but only under strict conditions. They had to be framed as solutions, not enhancements, not beauty, not vanity. As industry expert Michael Gilman explains, men's products were historically marketed as solutions to problems, not enhancements to appearance. So instead of selling glow, radiance, or transformation, men were sold repair, razor burn relief, acne treatment, anti aging correction. The message was clear: you're not trying to look better, you're just fixing a problem. And that framing hasn't disappeared, it's evolved. Men aren't entering beauty in the same way women have historically. They're entering a version of it that's been carefully rewritten. Skincare becomes science, routine becomes efficiency, self care becomes performance. Even the language avoids anything that sounds indulgent or excessive. Because the industry isn't dismantling gender norms, it's working around them. It's not removing expectations, it's refining them, making them feel optional, while still shaping how people believe they should look. But Gen Z is shifting that balance. Younger men aren't just entering through shaving or problem solving, they're starting with skincare. They're learning ingredients, they're experimenting. And for the first time, beauty is becoming something that can be expressive, not just corrective. Researchers have noted that younger male consumers are starting to approach skincare as preventative and identity driven, not just functional. Social media has accelerated this. Men are watching routines, trying products, sharing results. Beauty is no longer something quietly hidden, it's visible, and more importantly, it's becoming normalized. So now we get to the part that's a little harder to sit with. Because yes, there is progress here. There is less stigma, more freedom, more space for men to care about how they look without it being immediately questioned. But there's another layer to this. Because as men enter the beauty industry, they're also entering the same system that has spent decades shaping how women see themselves. A system built on the idea that you can always improve, that you can always be better, that you are, in some way, not quite enough yet. And here's where things start to shift. Because for a very long time, women haven't just participated in that system, they've been expected to. Expected to spend, expected to maintain, expected to invest time, money, and energy into their appearance as a baseline. Not as a bonus, not as self expression, but as the standard. And men have benefited from that expectation. There's been an unspoken dynamic for decades. Women should look good, and men should appreciate it, but not necessarily match it. And I want to be very clear about something. I'm not going to sit here and feel bad that the beauty industry has found a new audience, because for a very long time that pressure has not been evenly distributed. Women, and people who are attracted to men, have been expected to carry the weight of appearance, to invest, to maintain, to show up a certain way. And men have benefited from that. They've expected it, they've participated in it, but they haven't had to match it. And maybe that's what's starting to change. Because the bare minimum is no longer impressive. Don't expect a medal for brushing your teeth or properly wiping your ass. Basic hygiene is not self care, it's the baseline. And for a long time, even that baseline has been flexible. So, no, this isn't about punishing men, it's about equalizing expectations. If you expect effort, you should be willing to give it. If you benefit from beauty standards, you don't get to stand outside of them. And maybe for the first time, that imbalance is being corrected. Not gently, but noticeably. And that shift, whether you see it as fair or not, is changing how beauty operates. Because for the first time, appearance isn't just something women are being judged on, it's becoming something men are now being judged on too. Because once expectations shift, the industry follows. And that's exactly what we're starting to see. We're already seeing a rise in cosmetic procedures among men. Botox, fillers, subtle adjustments. According to data from the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, male cosmetic procedures have increased significantly over the past decade, with minimally invasive treatments leading that growth. And the language around it feels familiar. Preventative, maintenance, optimization. It's the same logic that has been used on women for decades, just repackaged. Because once you enter the system, you don't get to opt out of its rules. And that's the part that complicates everything. Because this could be freedom, or it could just be expansion. A wider audience for the same message. You could look better. You should look better. Let's not pretend this is just progress. The beauty industry has never been neutral. It runs on control, on the idea that your face, your body, your skin are projects that need constant work, and that if you're not willing to invest in that work, you lose value. Women have been conditioned into that system for generations. Expected to spend, expected to maintain, expected to care. So when men enter the beauty industry, they're not breaking free from anything. they're stepping into the same expectations, the same pressure, the same cost, and maybe, for the first time, that pressure isn't falling on just one side. And that's it for today's deep dive into men entering the beauty industry, what's driving it, and what it means when the pressure starts shifting. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone, a friend, a partner, a colleague, someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, my loves, take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, stay curious, always.
Make it clap, 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 clap. Make it clap, clap, clap. Make it clap, clap, clap. Make it clap, clap. Make it clap, clap.